Day. We're going to talk about that and more fun giant anteater facts as we sketch this little bug eater. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning. My mother is harassing me about making sure I have my microphone on. My mother is on my phone. She's in the chat room monitoring the chat for me. And yesterday, I managed to make it all the way to work with my microphone still attached to my shirt. And so she's teasing me about it, and she caught me right before we went live. Turkey. Anyway, it is Saturday morning, and on Saturday mornings, I like to do a little thing where I pull a toy from the toy box and draw it and talk about it. A random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier, if you will. And today's random object is a giant anteater. Now, we actually do this every day at 5:30 a.m. Texas time, so you may want to set that notification bell so you don't miss any of them. This isn't something we only do on Saturdays. We do this every day at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. Good morning, Tice. Good morning, Claudia. Good morning, Cassandra. Good morning, Ivy. Mom, Dad. Ivy was coloring robots yesterday, but I didn't see the robots in time, so I ended up coloring color pencils with her, but I did have a good time coloring with Ivy yesterday. My coworkers, when I pull out my watercolors at work the first time, my coworkers are like, "What are you doing?" And then now they're all like, "Oh wait, I can't wait to see this."
Adele's on vertical.
Good morning, Adele. So this morning's random object is a giant anteater. Giant anteaters are in South America. They're related to three-toed sloths and armadillos. They know they're related because they're the only species that have this extra vertebrae in their back that allows their back to bend in a weird way. And all three of them have it. They it's called xenarthra, and the name literally means extra bone, extra joint. And so they have this.
Cassandra.
What about Cassandra?
Cassandra has an alarm set with the motorcycle sound to remind me that it's party time.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
There's Pamela.
Good morning, Pamela. But they have. We know they're related because they have that extra joint. But they estimate that they've been separated for about 54 million years. But they're more closely related to sloths than anything else.
Adele remembers seeing a video of a giant anteater battling a jaguar. The jaguar decided to eat something easier after a while, so I guess you could say the anteater won.
Yes, anteaters are very strong, and they have razor sharp claws. Their front claws are razor sharp, and in an effort to keep them razor sharp, they walk on their knuckles. They keep their front paws bent back like this and walk on their knuckles to keep their four claws razor sharp. And they will stand up when attacked by a jaguar or puma. They will stand up on their back legs and use their tail like a kangaroo as a tripod, as a balancing mechanism to stand up on their hind legs so they can get above the jaguar, and they will slash with their razor sharp claws. And jaguars and pumas are about the only animals big enough to threaten them. these things have been known to kill a human if a human provokes them. So they're really powerful and fast. They're not related to badgers that I'm aware of. Ivy asked if they were related to badgers. Not that I'm aware of. It's that extra vertebra in their back though. The coloration would make you think that they might be related to badgers. I don't know. Badgers didn't come up in the conversation. Didn't come up in the research. That doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's not. Just that it didn't come up in the research. They eat ants, hence the name, anteater. And ants are very low calorie. And because of that, they have to keep a very low metabolism like sloths. They keep a very low metabolism and low body temperature. They're 91 degrees. They're one of the lowest body temperatures of all mammals, terrestrial mammals anyway. They have to keep that low body temperature because the ants don't provide enough calories to keep them warm for them to warm their bodies up, and much more than that. They're about 6 to 8 feet long, which works out to what, 2 or 3 skateboards? For reference, about 2 or 3 skateboards in length. They weigh somewhere between 60 and 110 pounds, depending on male or female. What are you laughing at, Mother?
I'm laughing at Puffy and Ivy. Ivy's taking her Claudia's into Zoom, and she's coming back and takes us into the shower with her, and she tells Ivy, she says, "I smell Ivy." And then and Ivy says, "You do. I smell like cherry blossoms."
I want to hear more about going to the shower with Claudia.
And Ivy and Claudia says that Anteater is much bigger than she thought.
Yeah, they're giant. They're people sized.
Adele says 2 or 3 skateboards. Americans we use anything but the nectar.
That's the whole point, Adele. That's the whole point. Matter of fact, when in my algorithm on my research tool, that's the title of the algorithm, is anything but metric. Anything but metric. Oh goodness. Their tongue is weird. It's 24 inches long and it attaches to their breastbone. I don't think human tongues attach to their breastbones, and I know my tongue is not 24 inches long, but the anteater's tongue, the giant anteater's tongue, is 24 inches long, and he can flick that thing in and out of his mouth 150 times a minute. I can even flick my finger 150 times a minute. That's a lot.
Ivy says, "I'm sorry, what?"
Yeah. 150 times a minute they can flick, and their tongue is attached to their breastbone all the way down in their chest. And part of the thing with their sharp claws is they'll go up, they'll find an ant nest, and they'll pull it apart, dig into it and pull it apart, because it's usually, ants and termites. And so there's usually wooden packed mud around it, and they'll dig into it and tear it apart with their sharp claws, and then stab their tongue in 150 times, and they'll pick up about between somewhere around 150 ants, and then move on. They won't stay, because if they stay, they'll get swarmed, and they don't have a whole lot of immunity to the swarm. Yeah, Gene Simmons' tongue is definitely not 24 inches long. But they won't. Once they get a couple of mouthfuls of ants, they just move on to the next den, and then they just have a couple of hundred mounds that they rotate around. They have a little territory with a couple of hundred mounds in them, and they just take, like I said, about 150 bugs, and then they move on, and that lets the ants recuperate, so that the nest will still be there, the mound will still be there next week, next month, whenever they rotate back into that area. Do, do, do.
Yeah, it is. Well, it says, is that the Kiss guy?
Yes, Gene Simmons is the guy from Kiss, known for sticking his tongue out wicked far. Though he doesn't hold the record is held by some 20-year-old girl. And to watch her stick her tongue out, and it's just freaky. But I don't think her tongue is 24 inches either. I think her tongue is like 7. I don't know. Their tongue has little microscopic hooks on it that face backwards, and they have a special gland that makes extremely sticky saliva. And so when they stick their tongue down into the ant hill, the sticky saliva and the barbs catch the bugs and pull them back out. And again, they eat about 30,000 bugs a day, 30,000 ants a day.
Joe needs an anteater. Which one? Claudia's ex could reach his nose, thought that was special.
I can stick my tongue out and touch my nose.
Joe says 30,000 ants a day, he'd be able to keep full for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a few ants in our backyard too. I can poison them. I can poison them and they'll be back in a couple of weeks.
The ants this year, the first poisoning doesn't affect them. You have to do it twice,
Yeah.
at least. They're really tough guys.
Yeah, my poor dad got swarmed by ants the other day. That's no bueno.
Some blisters on
I probably didn't tell you guys that this is my favorite part. This is my favorite part of the whole process. This is what turns the whole thing into a dimensional drawing instead of just lines on the page. I just absolutely love this part of the process.
You said the ants are horrible there, and the rain just keeps pushing them up. Ivy said yes, and it's raining at her place right now.
We were supposed to get some rain. It sprinkled on me last night on my way home, but it didn't really open up like they said it was going to, which I'm thankful for, because I carry gear for rain on the motorcycle, but you have to get to the motorcycle to get it on, and then you're outside in the rain trying to put the gear on. So it's not as beneficial as it sounds.
Adele says they have tiny black ants that are quite okay. Then they have red brown ones that hurt like censored words.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have any. I don't think we have any that I would call her okay. Every type of ant we have around here are annoyingly painful. Which is interesting. Why the anteaters, the giant anteaters, are only in South America. They haven't made it up to North America. The sloths haven't made it up to North America. But the armadillos are almost into Indiana and Ohio, aren't they? Ivy, didn't you say something about you guys have armadillos now? Armadillos are moving north, but the sloths and the giant anteaters are dwindling. All right, I need to dry this so that we can come back with some color. I'm gonna have to go see the barber and get my ears raised. My mustache is curling around, tickling my nose. Let's take a little vermilion and some cobalt blue. Make us a little brown here. Let's hit this coloration right here. And the end of his nose. And that's about it for that color. And then we can take some cobalt blue and probably yellow ochre, just a touch of yellow ochre, and a little bit of vermilion. More blue though, we need more blue to get that gray for his back. Touch more vermilion. There we go. I think that's a good color if we can get it thinned down enough.
Dale's husband says he knows it's time to trim mustache when they start falling into his coffee.
I don't have the problem of them falling into my coffee, but I do have the problem with them I've got a couple of wild hairs that just curl back around and tickle my nose. And ear hair is a huge issue, especially inside my motorcycle helmet, because intellectually I know it is hair, but my my reflex tells me it is a cockroach inside my helmet or a spider or something. And it is not. I know it is not. I know, like I said, intellectually I know it's hair, but it feels like a large insect crawling around inside my helmet. And at at 80, 90 miles an hour, keeping up with traffic, that that turns into an issue when you feel like you have a giant hissing cockroach in your ear.
Since they call those pluckers.
Yes. Yes, I should be plucking them is right. My problem is I'm trying to grow a big handle mustache, and half the internet says grow all of your hairs long to feed it, and another half of your internet says trim those up and just cultivate the ones on the edges. And I'm halfway in between. I'm doing something in the middle, and I need to just pick a camp and stay there. Let me dry this, and then we can ink it. I feel like I need to do that background because I don't feel like the white is standing out. So I'm going to add a bit of scarlet with some, I don't know, what is it?
They said if Sunday's Uncle Murder Day, what's Saturday?
I don't really have a tradition for Saturday. Saturdays are pantsless.
Our neighbor takes his grandkids to IHOP every Saturday morning. His kids are sort of educated and free. And I think that's great fun to go with Grandpa.
Well, when my kids were little, I used to take them to the Chickasha Hotel in Oklahoma, and they had a really nice breakfast set up in there. It was very inexpensive, and it was within walking distance of the house. And my daughter and I, my youngest daughter and I, would walk to the Chickasha Hotel for breakfast every Saturday morning. We'd leave the baby and my wife asleep.
Oh, she would dress up.
She would put on her fanciest clothes, and she would be so excited. I'd come in and say, "Baby, you want to go get breakfast?" And she would bounce out of bed. "Yes, Daddy." And she would bounce out of bed. And this would be 5 o'clock in the morning. My son never really enjoyed that. I never got the. He never wanted to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. He never wanted to go do that. But he would do. She and I would draw. She would bring her sketchbook, and she and I would draw while we waited on our food. And we'd talk about the week, and we'd talk about the day, and we would draw whatever was on the table. But he would bring his when he and I went out, he would bring his toy snakes, and he would he would bring a bag full of dinosaurs and snakes, and he would play with them, and I would draw them, and we would talk. But he never really liked getting up in the mornings. The best part is it's always the scenes where you can see my face, where my nose itches the most. I'm trying to scratch my nose discreetly, and then the camera's right on me.
Dad used to play pranks on weekend mornings. He made amazing ones, and she could never get one on his.
Yeah.
And over on the horizontal, Joe and Ivy had me going to Golden Corral where you can eat bacon, or Waffle House where they would go eat pantless, just bring you more coffee. But if you go to Waffle House, you have to wear a bulletproof vest.
You know, I know our Waffle House is actually pretty good. I used to go to our Waffle House all the time. Never pantless. I should try that though. But I used to go to our Waffle House all the time. And so much so that I had I'm a Barbie Girl. They had that jukebox that you can program with your phone. And I had I'm a Barbie Girl selected on the jukebox. And I had my phone set up so that whenever I would get close enough, I could play the song. And when I got in there, my food would be ready. They knew I was coming. I quit going because the last time I went, I did that. And nobody knew who I was anymore. So I just decided it wasn't going to be fun to train anybody new.
When my oldest granddaughter still lived in Texas, she and I would go to Waffle House.
Yeah, I like Waffle House.
Just don't sit under the speaker.
And if you can get away with it. These guys have lost about 30% in the last 3 generations. A generation for them is about 7 years. It takes from the time they're born to the time they have to the time they have offspring that will also have offspring is about 7 years. And in the last 3 generations, so the last 21 years, they've lost 30% of their population. And their biggest issue, like the sloths, their biggest issue is the roads being cut in and the power lines being cut in exposes them. And then and they're being hit by cars. That they don't really have problems. These guys don't really have problems with feral pets, but they do have a problem with fire because there are farmers growing sugarcane in the area, and part of the sugarcane growing process is to burn off the field, and they inadvertently start wildfires. They're not trying to start wildfires because that endangers everybody's life, but they inadvertently start wildfires, and it's destroying quite a bit of their habitat. So, as a species, they are considered threatened. What is today? Today is the 18th of April. But that is my version of it compared to the photograph. Let's see what it looks like from my perspective. there he is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. What could we possibly be doing tomorrow? Whatever could it be? Do 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 do. Ah. The suspense. The suspense is what gets you. What could it be? This is what I ended up wearing to work. Now, granted, I had that black floral print Hawaiian shirt on yesterday, so I can see how it would blend in. But I mean, this is a big poofy thing. Anyway, just take your mic to work day. Oh, okay, so we have a bingo ball. And this one is 159. And 159 corresponds to this item because it has tag 159 on it. This is an Argentinian horned frog. Now, they're often referred to as a Pac-Man frog. You can't tell it by the way this guy's, because he's leaping lizards. This guy's leaping out there. So you really can't tell from him that he looks like a Pac-Man. But when they sit up, they're kind of circular, and their mouths open really wide, and they will eat things bigger than their head, or they will attempt to eat things bigger than their head. So we're doing the Argentinian horned frog tomorrow. So you may want to set your notification. We'll talk about that and more fun facts about Argentinian horned frogs tomorrow, 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you may want to set your notification bell for that so you don't miss it. But yeah, more Gene Simmons. It's a tongue thing this week. Dino chicken. You were so close. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Claudia, Cassandra, Ivy, Adele, Pamela. Did Rick come in? I never saw if Rick came in. Joe. Who am I missing? Am I missing somebody? Tice was here bright and early. Tice is on his dad's computer today. Tice is here bright and early. But I think that was everybody. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Ivy, always a pleasure to have you, my friend. You guys have a fantastic day. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because that is how we know that the lag has caught up to the stream, and I won't be cut off mid-sentence. It gives everybody a chance to say their hellos and goodbyes and ask any questions of each other's. It lets Rick was here. Cassandra said Rick was here. Gives you a chance to click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal and this way if you're on the vertical.